So, the HOA president who threatened to fine me $10,000 for my embarrassing poor people decorations ended up getting escorted off my property by federal agents while my Christmas lights were literally being used by NASA for a national security project. Let me back up because this is wild. My name's David, I'm 34, and I'm an aerospace engineer. I work on satellite communications and optical tracking systems. Sounds boring, right? Just wait. Last year, my wife Rachel and I bought our dream house in this nice suburban neighborhood outside Denver. It was perfect. Great schools, quiet streets, mountain views. But there was one tiny problem we didn't know about until it was too late. The HOA, and specifically, the HOA president, Kenneth Bradshaw. This guy, oh man. Mid-50s, always wore a polo shirt tucked into khakis, drove a BMW he couldn't really afford, and had this clipboard he carried around the neighborhood like he was some kind of mall cop. He lived for finding violations. Your trash can was out 6 inches too far, violation. Your grass was a 1/4 inch too long, violation. He once fined an elderly woman $500 because her garden gnome was considered visual pollution. So right before Christmas, I'm putting up my lights. Now, I'm not talking about some crazy Clark Griswold setup. I had simple white icicle lights on the gutters, a lit-up tree in the front yard, and some pathway lights. Totally normal, totally tasteful. But here's the thing. I'm an engineer, right? So I programmed the lights. I created this pattern where they'd pulse in sync, kind of like a heartbeat, and then ripple across the house in waves. It was actually really cool. I used some old equipment from a college project and wrote the code myself over a few weekends. Cost me maybe $200 in materials. Rachel loved it. The neighbors loved it. Kids would stop and watch. Then Kenneth showed up. He knocked on my door 3 days before Christmas with his stupid clipboard. "Mr. Hayes, we need to talk about your light display." "Okay, what about it?" "It's flashy. It's drawing attention. Several neighbors have complained." "Which neighbors?" "That's confidential. But more importantly, your display doesn't match the neighborhood aesthetic. According to HOA bylaws, all Christmas decorations must maintain a traditional appearance." I tried to stay calm. "Kenneth, they're just white lights. They're not even that bright." "The pattern is the problem. It's too technical, too showy. Honestly, it looks like something poor people would do to compensate for cheap decorations." I literally blinked at him. "Excuse me? You clearly can't afford professional holiday decorators like the Johnsons or the Mitchells, so you're trying to make up for it with these gimmicky patterns. It's embarrassing for the neighborhood." My wife came to the door. "Did you just call us poor?" "I'm simply saying that this neighborhood has standards. If you can't maintain them, perhaps you should consider a more appropriate community." He handed me a violation notice. $500 fine if the lights aren't changed to a standard static display within 48 hours. $10,000 if they're still up after New Year's. Then he just walked away. I was furious. Rachel was crying. We'd just moved in. We'd stretched our budget to afford this house, and now this guy was threatening us over Christmas lights? But here's where it gets good. The next day at work, I was still fuming about it. I was telling my colleague Marcus the whole story during lunch. Marcus just stared at me. "Wait, you programmed LED lights to pulse in a synchronized pattern? With what kind of refresh rate?" "I don't know, 60 hertz? Why?" "David, do you realize what you accidentally built?" Annoying Christmas lights according to my HOA?" "No, dude. You built a ground-based optical calibration array." I had no idea what he was talking about. Marcus explained that NASA and the Air Force have been trying to develop better ways to calibrate satellites that monitor light pollution and track objects in low Earth orbit. They need ground-based reference points with precise, programmable light patterns. Your Christmas lights are literally doing what a $2 million government contract is trying to accomplish, Marcus said. I'm working on that project. We've been stuck for months. My jaw dropped. Marcus made some calls. Within 3 hours, I was in a video conference with people from NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center and the Department of Defense. They wanted to use my house. Apparently, my random Christmas light setup was in a perfect location with clear sight lines to several satellite paths. The pulse pattern I'd programmed by accident was almost identical to what they needed for calibration testing. They asked if they could install additional equipment and use my display for a 2-week testing window. They offered to pay me $15,000 for the inconvenience and the temporary easement on my property. I said yes immediately, but I also told them about Kenneth and the HOA. The NASA guy, Dr. Chen, just smiled. Mr. Hayes, this is technically a matter of national security now. Your HOA has no authority over federally contracted operations. They sent me official documentation, letters from NASA, DoD authorization, the whole 9 yards. I waited until December 30th. Kenneth had been driving by my house every day, taking pictures of my lights, probably getting ready to drop that $10,000 fine on me. Then the NASA trucks showed up. 2 white vans, official government plates, pulled up to my house at 9 a.m. 4 people in official badges started unloading equipment and setting up additional sensors on my roof. Kenneth came running out of his house. I was waiting for this. "What is going on here? Mr. Hayes, you are in violation. This is—" One of the NASA technicians, a no-nonsense woman named Patricia, stepped in front of him. "Sir, this is a federally authorized installation. You need to step back." "Federally? This is my neighborhood. I'm the HOA president." She handed him a document. "This property is currently under temporary contract with NASA for optical calibration research. All local ordinances and HOA regulations are superseded by federal authorization. You can read the details there." Kenneth's face went from red to purple. "This is ridiculous. You can't just—" "Sir, if you interfere with federal operations, you'll be subject to prosecution. I suggest you go back to your property." I was standing on my porch, trying not to laugh. Kenneth looked at me with pure hatred. "You think you're so smart? You think this changes anything?" Dr. Chen, who'd flown in to oversee the setup, walked over. "Actually, Mr. Bradshaw, it changes quite a bit. Mr. Hayes has contributed valuable technical innovation to a national security project. His work may be referenced in upcoming research papers, and his compensation exceeds your threatened fine by a considerable margin." "His compensation?" "The contract is confidential, but yes, he's being compensated. Now we need you to move. You're blocking our sight line to the western satellite path." Kenneth stood there, opening and closing his mouth like a fish, then stormed back to his house. But it gets better. The installation took 3 days. During that time, local news got wind of it. "Local man's Christmas lights catch NASA's attention," was the headline. They interviewed me. They interviewed Dr. Chen. The story went regional, then national. Suddenly, everyone in the neighborhood knew that the lights Kenneth called poor people decorations were actually being used by NASA. The HOA held an emergency meeting. Kenneth tried to maintain that he was just protecting property values, but 12 homeowners stood up and demanded his resignation. Turns out everyone had Kenneth's stories. Everyone hated him. But I was the first person who'd ever successfully fought back. He resigned on January 4th. The new HOA president, a retired teacher named Helen, immediately rewrote the decoration bylaws. Now they specifically allow technological and educational displays that contribute to scientific advancement. NASA's tests were successful. They published a paper that cited my novel approach to distributed optical arrays. I'm listed as a contributing researcher. My company gave me a bonus for the positive publicity. And the absolute best part? The city installed a historical marker in front of my house that reads, Site of NASA Optical Calibration Research, December 2024. Kenneth had to drive past it every single day until he and his wife sold their house and moved in March. I still have the violation notice he gave me. It's framed in my office next to the NASA letter of appreciation. Rachel and I put up the same lights this year. Even better ones, actually. The new HOA president asked if NASA wanted to come back, and they said they might next year for a follow-up study. Last week, I saw Kenneth at the grocery store. He saw me, turned his cart around, and went down a different aisle. I smiled the whole way home. So, if you've ever been judged for not being rich enough, fancy enough, or good enough, if someone's ever made you feel small because you did things your way instead of their way, this story is for you. Hit that like button right now, smash that subscribe button, and turn on notifications because I'm dropping a new revenge story every day this week, and tomorrow's might be even better than this one. Drop a comment telling me about a time someone underestimated you. Your comeback story matters. The universe has a way of humbling the right people at the perfect time. And that's how my Poor People Christmas lights became a NASA research project and ended a tyrant's HOA reign, all because some guy with a clipboard couldn't mind his own business. Merry Christmas, Kenneth. Hope those satellite paths are treating you well.